It is no secret college can be expensive, and even buying necessities can stretch a student's budget. For people on campus struggling to buy healthy food, the University of Tennessee has a new option. 10 News reporter Gabrielle Hayes explains.
The UT Grow Lab started with one realization: paying for college is hard.
You have students that are studying, going to school, leading active student lives, and constantly worrying about where their next meal is going to come from.
So UT Recycling decided to create a year-round Grow Lab, a garden that produces food for the campus food pantry.
You can just come in and be welcomed, and they'll give you food.
Each week, the garden donates about 20 pounds of everything from tomatoes to peppers and squash.
Everybody needs to eat, and the folks that are not eating as much as they should, it's more important for them.
Garden manager Don Fike says the project is also an opportunity for student learning. Multiple university classes are involved in planting, and one plans to build an outside classroom and a pavilion.
It's a learning experience, and being a college campus, it's a good place to teach his practices.
Leah McCord says while people often joke about college students going without, it is a difficult reality for a lot of students.
That's a systemic issue of if you're worried about food and you're not eating enough, you're not going to do well in school. You're not going to succeed here when you've worked so hard to get here.
But both facilitators say the future is bright, and the garden will continue filling an important need students face every day.
So we hope to see those big ripples come up from this garden. Yeah.
On UT's campus, Gabrielle Hayes, 10 News.
The UT Grow Lab will hold a grand opening September 26th.